when does our behavior affect our attitudes? Well, role-playing is a really powerful form of this. It says the word role is borrowed from the theater, and as in the theater refers to actions expected of those who occupy a particular social position. When enacting new social roles, we may at first feel phony, but our unease seldom lasts. No, we usually become more comfortable in it. I always heard the expression, fake it till you make it. When you're nervous or when you don't know how to, like, give it a presentation or having to do public speaking, pretend you know what you're talking about. Pretend you're confident, and eventually it will come. So playing the role eventually becomes more comfortable. The Stanford prison, let me put my pointer on. This picture here says guards and prisoners in the Stanford prison simulation. This is by Zimbardo, who did a really interesting experiment where he had students volunteer and participate in a prisoner guard or simulation of an actual prison, and he had predicted that it would have an effect once some of the students who were assigned to play guards and the others who were assigned to play prisoners would start playing the roles, that indeed it would have an effect on the behavior. What he minimized was how strong it would be. He didn't realize that the guards would become so cruel. The guards would start to purposely humiliate the prisoners. And they assigned a lot of passive folks to be the guards in particular. So it's a really interesting take, and at some point Zimbardo had to shut it down way early. You can read about this in your textbook. It's really a great experiment. But he had to shut it down. It became too dangerous. It became out of hand because they played their roles beyond what he expected they would. The power of it was so strong. If you look here, the Abu Ghraib tragedy, or something that was, I guess, appalling to a lot of people. One of the photos, that's just one of many photos that came out of Abu Ghraib controversy. People were shocked by what the guards, the military police were doing in terms of the way they treated these prisoners. Very humiliating pics were coming out of there. And later, the people, that were interviewed said, we were just following orders. We were doing what we were told. They played their roles, and it went beyond what people thought would happen. The strength of role-playing. When saying becomes believing, it says people often adapt what they say to please their listeners. They're quicker to tell people good news than bad, obviously. They adjust their message towards their listeners' views. So, we do this. This is our self-report. This is what's coming out that's more explicit. When induced to give spoken or written support to something they doubt, people often feel bad about their deceit. Nevertheless, they begin to believe what they are saying, assuming they weren't bribed or coerced into doing it. Eventually, they start to believe. They start to take on the attitude, actually. When there's no compelling external explanation for one's words, saying becomes believing. The power in that. Here's a couple things. During wartime, during peacetime, this was a bee collecting experiment that was set up. It says in reality no bugs were harmed, but students believed they were killing bees. It says students who believed they killed several bugs by dropping them in this apparent killing machine later killed more bugs during a self-paced killing period. Yeah, they became used to it. It became normalized in a sense, and they actually killed more. And they believed they were killing real bees, live bees. Well, indeed they weren't, but and then the Rwanda genocide. Cruel acts such as 1994 Rwanda genocide tend to breed even crueler or more hate-filled attitudes. Quote here, at first killing was obligatory, explained one participant in the Rwandan genocide. Afterward, we got used to it. We became naturally cruel. We no longer needed encouragement or fines to kill, or even orders or advice. People took on the roles. People became crueler. I tell my class we worked with a skitter box when I was an undergrad student in a behavioral psychology course, and we were told not to shock our rats because punishment wasn't a part of this experiment we were doing, which was using the skitter box to train our rats using classical conditioning and opera conditioning techniques. And we were all randomly assigned partners in the class. We then talk to you guys. We then were given instructions on how to go to the lab throughout the semester and train our rats. And my partner and I, we nicknamed our little rat Little Freddy, and I'd play with Little Freddy, and he became our pet. And so halfway through the experiment, halfway through the semester, my partner says, "Hey, you want to shock Little Freddy today?" And I was like, no, I'm not going to shock Little Freddy. He's our rat. And we're getting really good results with our experiment. We don't want to affect that. So I talked him out of it. And later in the semester, we were close to wrapping up our work. We got our results. Little Freddy was a quick learner in his Skinner box. And so we were going to present the next day to our class our findings. So that last day, I turned to him and I said, "You want to shock Little Freddy today?" And he's like, no, you talked me out of it earlier this semester. We're not going to shock Freddy. And so, anyways, he talked me out of it. We go to class the next day, and we present our findings, and all the other groups present their findings. And Little Freddy, along with a couple other rats, did really well. They were like really quick learners. So there were about 3 rats that did really awesome. And then there was a drop-off, and a lot of the other rats were not quick learners, had struggled with using the conditioning, and it really didn't take. And so after class, we're talking to all the other groups, and they're like, "Hey, did you shock?" "We did." "Did you shock?" "Well, we shocked every time we went in there." Everybody was shocking. And I think it was sort of this, again, I think people were hesitant, tended to do it the first time, maybe the first few times, but then it became easy and actually kind of more cruel. So, I just remember from an early experiment in psychology how it something that a lot of people, and we were explicitly told not to. We were told, "Do not shock your rats," a couple times by the professor. But people continued to shock and did it at a high rate. Social movements, political and social movements may legislate behavior designed to lead to attitude change on a mass scale, since the practice is not limited to totalitarian regimes, rather. Political rituals, a daily flag salute, you can see these kids here. School children singing the national anthem, using public conformity to build private patriotism. And the author here says he recalls participating in air raid drills in elementary school, not far from the Boeing company in Seattle. After we acted repetitively, I'm reading right here, as if we were targets of Russian attack, we came to fear Russians. Sorry guys, I got a delivery. I'm back. Anyways, Russia sucks. A good friend of mine had a bumper sticker on his car on the 80s, and that was not unusual. We were taught the Russians were our enemy, to be afraid of them, that they could attack. We were shown the films in elementary school of what you do in case of a nuclear war attack, and so there was this. It was perpetuated that you should fear them, and as a result, we came to dislike them. You guys remember Rocky IV? We're fighting the big bad Russian, and of course we triumphed in the end. And it was social movements are affected by this. We come to believe we do these things, we're exposed to these things, and it has an effect on our attitude at some point. Self-preservation, it says, why does behavior affect our attitudes? Self-presentation or impression management, it says, assumes people, especially those who self-monitor their behavior, hoping to create good impressions, will adapt their attitude reports to appear consistent with their actions. First explanation began as a simple idea. Who among us does not care what people think? The question, people spend billions on clothes, diets, cosmetics, plastic surgery, all because of their fretting over what others think. In bold print there, it says, we see making a good impression as a way to gain social and material rewards. It's adaptive, really. To feel better about ourselves, our self-esteem improves, even to become more secure in our social identities. So it does feed us that way. That's part of the explanation. It says, no one wants to look foolishly inconsistent. To avoid seeming so, we express attitudes that match our actions. To appear consistent, we may automatically pretend those attitudes. Even a little insincerity or hypocrisy can pay off in managing the impression we're making. There is Jess, anyways.